pala.
Well, good day, everyone. I just give you a second here. Okay, let's see now. Okay. 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 All right. Yes, so good day, everyone. I hope everyone's okay. Now, before I will start, of course, like to remind you, I think you are very anxious to know about your therapy test because I have many emails on that. I'm going to give you, okay, just a minute here. I just want to shut It's already this is. Okay. All right. Yeah, because it's not equal, I guess now. Yeah. Your midterm test hopefully will be given close, not coming week, the week after that. Follow my point here because I have to correct the exam as based on their dates. Okay. So basically, definitely you're going to find it what you call, unless if I finish, you may have it at the end of this week or early next week. Okay. So in that case, should be okay. And do you have any other question you want to know? Please let me know in general. Well, so
yeah, sorry. Oh,
yes, go ahead, please. Yeah.
Could you just repeat the due date for the essay again, please?
To repeat what I said today?
Sorry, the due date for the essay.
For the essay. Yeah, for the essay, of course, when I give you the essay, but first of all, I'm going to, yes, for the essay, where is your final exam? Do you know the date of your final exam?
It is December 17th, yeah.
Okay, so my point of view, of course, if you finished early, usually when I send you the what you call the email, I mentioned in the last week of the classes, okay? If you finish it and you send it to me, okay? But in my opinion, I'm going to give you time as long as you will submit it to me before your final exam. Is that okay?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, yes, but one thing I want to mention, because some students, if they send me the email, I'm going to make what you call a Dropbox, and I prefer to send it again to the Dropbox. Because really, I received so many emails, so I don't like to lose anything there, okay? Anyway, I will send you an email with this regard anyway, in addition to that, okay? To clarify all these points. Any other point? Okay. Anyway, you can send me an email if you want anything here. At the moment, of course, as already I started with you last lecture with the fungi imperfect type. And I think the last thing I'm going to talk about in this regard here, I think I started with you what you call with the predaceous fungi. Okay, just subtitle is you can see this one here. Okay, now that predaceous fungi, because last lecture we talked also about other phenomena occurring within the fungi imperfect type or the imperfect fungi, which we talk about what you call the anastomosis. Okay, we'll explain that. And now we're going to talk about this one here, a predaceous fungi. Okay, and this fungi basically, I don't know if you have something in the lab, but you see now what I have here. Yeah, these fungi, as a matter of fact, they use now these fungi, as a matter of fact, try to depend on other organisms for their nutrition. Now, just to mention, start with that. Some fungi organisms.
Excuse me, Professor.
Yes.
I was just wondering, on the syllabus for the course, it says that we have a second midterm test. Do we have a second one?
No, you don't going to be any other midterm test. No, that's the only one. Yeah. So, when I said in the syllabus, I said one or two because it depends. Okay, my point of view here. So basically, in this case, I'm giving because what I've been here, you already have a quite bit of material to be given. And I cannot afford to lose any other hours. You got this point here?
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah. Besides, that's the point. Besides, you have the lab, and I think, of course, I corrected some of your term test. Seems okay, but I have to have my preservation list. I want to mention to you what other thing you have to do with your final exam. Okay? Does that answer the question now?
Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Take care. Now, as I mentioned, these predaceous fungi, that some fungi organisms obtain Okay, their nutrition, to mention their nutrition, okay, of which, okay, at least facultatively, at least, okay, facultatively, okay, is based on capture and digestion of minute animal. Facultatively is based, okay, on capture, okay, on capture, okay, and digestion of small animals or minute animals. Okay, and animals such as, or this include, for example, these animals include, okay, like amoeba, okay, like amoeba, make sure that I write it here, rotifers, okay, nematodes, okay, and springtail. Yes. Okay, and really well, okay. Now, most of these fungi, since after they find, they either belong to zygomycete or they belong to fungi imperfecti. To mention this point here, now the fungi involved, okay, are mainly or chiefly zygomycetes, okay, and the mycete, which is the fungi imperfecti, and mycetes. Okay. Now, the special interest of this we're going to use, especially because this is also important for agriculture, are those fungi which basically capture the nematode. Okay, to make this point here. Of special interest, okay, of special interest are some nematode destroying organism, are some nematode called organism, of course, I mean here the fungi, okay? If you of course, you know the nematode, they are really a very small worm, which is about 0.1 to 1 millimeter long, okay? But these nematode, of course, they have a very devastating impact on the crops, okay? Now, imagine nematodes, at this point here, okay, are minute, which is basically from 0.1 to 1 millimeter long, that basically, and of course they are worm-like, okay, animals. They are worm-like animals, and many of which okay, live in soil. live in soil and are important enemies with this nematode and are important enemies of horticulture and the crop plants. Usually there are about more than 50 so far of these fungi being described as what you call nematode, or these what you call predaceous fungi. Mention one. Now, more than 50 species. More than 50 species of nematode. We call them of nematode. Destroying fungi are known. Of nematode destroying fungi are known. Of course, they use different mechanism, but sometimes they use, like, for example, adhesive knob, in which they attach themselves to the nematode, and of course they penetrate it. And other mechanism, as a matter of fact, what you call, they do kind of network of adherence, But the most interesting one, in which basically the fungus will make rings like this, 3 rings, this is, say, the hyphae of the fungus. It has 3 rings. And basically what happened here, once there's a small nematode touches that ring, immediately the ring will expand, until the nematode goes inside and they will constrict on it. Basically, all that process, it may take even more than 0.1 of the second, And once being captured, then of course the nematode is going to produce either some enzyme or toxin to kill it, and then of course to absorb the nutrient. So these are the points I am going to mention to you here. Now, the mechanism used by these fungi, used by these fungi, means the nematode destroying fungi, by these fungi, are various and remarkable. Means the method they use to trap the nematode, So the mechanism used by these fungi are what you call, as I mentioned to you, are various and also remarkable. Now, in some species, undifferentiated hyphae. Hyphae are not specialized, but in some species, undifferentiated hyphae. Called undifferentiated hyphae. Adhere to the animal. Adhere to the animals. Now, but in others, means in other fungi, but in others, a special network. Special network of adherent branches, called of adherent branches, okay, or sometimes called stalked adhesive knob. Stalked, dash here, put the word, adhesive knob. Knobs, and sometimes what you call, in addition, also they have what you call, and non-constricting non-constricting and constricting ring occurs. Non-constricting and constricting ring occurs. Usually the one which produce the constricting, they are interested. I'm going to talk about one. Okay, and that's going to mention the last one are especially, or the last are especially interesting. Interesting, which is better to describe it, consists, as I showed you from, okay, consists of, okay, of three curved cells, of three curved cells, okay, in a form of a closed ring. In a form of a closed ring, okay, at the end of a short stalk. Okay. Sorry. Stop. Now to describe what's happening here, as I mentioned to you, as the nematode enters the ring, as the nematode, okay, enters the ring, okay, the ring cell rapidly increases. The ring cell rapidly, of course, increases to allow the nematode to go inside. Okay, the ring cell, okay, rapidly increases, okay, to 3 times their original size. Increases to 3 times, okay, their original size. Okay. Then after that, of course, okay. And once then, of course, and then after that, then constrict, means the ring will constrict, and holding the organism, constricts and holding the organism. Okay. Now, basically, all this process of expanding and constricting and basically all takes almost 0.1 of the second. To mention this point here, and this may occur in 0.1 of the second. In 0.1 second. Okay. Of course, after that, basically Hyphy penetrate what you call the nematode and may introduce some toxic material and so on to kill it and then digest it. And to mention this point here, after capture, after capture, of course, okay, hyphy of the fungus okay, penetrate the animal okay, penetrate the animal and digest and absorb its substances.
Sir, can you adjust the paper, please?
You want it like this one here?
Yes,
Okay,
please.
now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for reminding me. Please don't forget to remind me because sometimes I forget here, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. After capture, hyphy of the fungus penetrate the animal and digest and absorb. Okay, and absorb its substances. Okay. And also to mention that also there is a possibility that the fungus also may introduce some toxin. And to mention this point here, okay, and it is possible. Okay, the fungus also, okay, produce a toxin. Okay. Now, the best example known of this species is called Arthropotrus conodius. The best example of fungus like this called Arthropotrus conodius. Okay. Well, by this, basically, I end what you call that section of the fungi imperfecti, which we talk about what you call the major group in which basically based or classified using what you call some of the asexual method. Already I mentioned to you this group, and that's why the classification, we call it there basically artificial classification, and that's why I mentioned to you that we have always to put in the beginning like form species, form class, form order, because the classification is artificial. And also we mentioned about two phenomena occurring with these fungi of what you call imperfecti, like anastomosis and what you call, and basically that capturing of these predaceous fungi. Of course, the fungi imperfecta is a very large group, very huge group, and also, as I mentioned, a quite number of really which are pathogenic species, either to animal to human. Most of them are basically belong to this group of. Now, then I'm going to move to another section of this course here. Basically, we're going to talk about those fungi which basically they have a symbiosis with either other organism like lichens. So we talk a little bit about the lichens, and also going to discuss a little bit about the mycorrhizae and different group, because these are important to know. So now I'm going to start with this one here. Did you finish from this one?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So give me a second here. Title we'll start with here as fungi as a mutualistic symbiotic organism, as a mutualistic symbiotic organisms. The first thing I want to talk about, basically, we're going to talk about the lichens. Okay, and now the lichens, basically, just of course, some of you are maybe familiar with them or not. You can see them sometime on rocks or trees. They look like this one here. Okay, or this one here. Let's see my second here. Okay, sometimes they look like this. I've definitely come across them. They are very slow growing organisms. Okay, or sometimes they look like this one here. Okay, or sometimes they look like this one here, or different. Okay, different type. And basically they look like organism, but as you know already, that already mentioned that the lichen basically is association of two organisms, fungus and could be sometimes blue-green algae or unicellular algae. Okay, and basically that togetherness become all the time together, even call them a species. Now, first of all, to start a little bit of general here. Now, there are approximately so far 18,000 to 20,000 species okay, of the association known as lichens, of the association known as lichens. Okay. The other point I'm going to mention basically now, rock inhabiting lichens, because really the always that process of succession, especially lichen considered very important in the what you call, because you know the soil or originally it is from rocks. That is where is the origin of the soil. Okay, and lichen basically they will play as the primary organism of what you call eroding. Though they grow very, very slow, but sometimes they produce a little bit of acid. And as you know, because rock really, no organism can grow, so the lichen able to grow there. And by growing there gradually, as a matter of fact, they degrade the soil and so on. To mention now, rock inhabiting lichens, to mention rock inhabiting lichens, okay, simply to mention, have been implicated okay, as agent initiating soil formation, has been implicated as agent or agents inhibiting or initiating soil formation. Okay, Now, the other thing to mention, of course, lichen, as a matter of fact, they are very slow growing, okay? Sometimes basically per year, sometimes their diameter may increase 1 millimeter to about 1 centimeter. So their growth is very slow. And because they can grow under very harsh conditions, that's why their growth is very slow. And to make this point here, lichens are extremely slow growing organisms. Lichens are extremely slow growing, okay, organism or organisms in this case, okay, and may increasing in radial diameter and may increasing, okay, in radial diameter okay, no more than 1 millimeter It is better like this, I don't know. Okay, no more than 1 millimeter, okay, to 1 centimeter, almost per year. Okay, and that's basically if somebody see a large lichen, that means it takes very long. Okay, and especially in the Arctic area, of course, the lichen may grow. Some of them are large, and really these lichen, for example, in tundra and that area, they serve one of the main important type of food for deer and other animals. Okay, but anyway, to mention here one point here, now to mention that the age, just to mention, for example, the age, okay, of some Arctic lichens, the age of some Arctic lichens, okay, has been calculated. Okay, has been calculated, okay, to be close about 4,500 years, okay, calculated to be 4,500 years, okay. And that's why sometimes some of them their growth can be related even to the glacial, period. And to mention this point here, and lichens growth, okay, growth rates are sometimes used to set approximate, sometimes used to set, okay, approximately okay, the date of a glacial, date of a glacial, okay, retreat in Arctic alpine region. In Arctic alpine region. Okay. Usually, of course, what happened here, that slow rate, as a matter of fact, because the lichen maybe they don't have what you call any kind of adaptation to conserve water. So basically, because of that, because they grow in a very, very hard condition. Just to mention this point for you. Now, their slow rate of growth okay, is probably correlated with their lack of adaptation to conserve water. Okay. Now, usually the lichen, of course, as I mentioned to you, the way because they're able to, because usually when they grow, they produce a kind of acid, and that acid basically, okay, there are different types, but I'm going to mention in a very summarized way. Lichen produce a variety of organic compounds. To mention this point here also, that lichens, okay, produce, okay, a variety of organic compounds and these are known as what's called lichens acid. Okay. Not necessarily all of them are acid, but you call it. But sometimes of these, their excretion, sometimes basically it helps to use what you call to classify them or to group them. Okay, now. Now to mention a little bit about their structure here in general, then I will talk about it. Okay, just give me a second here. Okay. Now, the other point to mention, of course, to you, as mentioned, lichen is a composite structure. A lichen is a composite structure.
Saba, could you move the paper up, please?
Okay. So right now?
Up further.
Like this?
Maybe a little more.
Okay.
That should be good.
Yeah, because really my selfie of the screen is very small. I couldn't. Okay, just give me a second here. Just give me. Okay. All right. Now, basically, as I mentioned, lichen basically they consist of a fungal hyphae and either blue-green algae or unicellular algae. And to make this point, lichen is a composite structure. Lichen is a composite structure. Okay, consisting of a fungus and an algae. Okay. And I'm going to show you just, and the fungus, okay, and the fungus forms a network, okay, in which, okay, embedded, in which are embedded okay, unicellular algal cell. Unicellular algal cell. Just give me a second. Sometime when you make cross-section, I'm going to discuss the cross-section of lichen, but really, usually you find, especially in the area, on the epidermis. But if you look at it, this is how it looks like. This is how it looks like. Do you see this one here? This is how it looks like. Basically, you have the hypha of the fungi is almost circling what you call is called a unicellular algal cell. That basically our structure here, okay? And to mention. And most of the time, we're going to find basically, it seems most of these fungi, sometimes it could be origin from their either ascomycete or seem to be either basidiomycete, or some of them basically are what you call fungi imperfecti. Just to mention a few lines on this regard here. Now, the great bulk of the fungus bulk of the fungus, okay, found in lichens okay, are ascomycetes although if you are basidiomycetes, okay, basidiomycetes or fungi imperfecti. Okay. I think we have that chair maybe better than this one here. Okay. Fungi imperfecti. Okay. Now, basically, with regards to the algae, as I mentioned, the algae could be either blue-green algae or the cyanobacteria, or it could be unicellular, what you call eukaryotic algae. And to mention this point here, now, the algae either okay, green, okay, or blue-green algae. Okay. Okay, just put this one here. Is that clear now for you? Okay. Okay, the other thing I've mentioned here. Now, it seems also that we call sometimes the algae, as a matter of fact, to point to this, could be found what you call living free in the nature. Okay, but the fungi which grows never have to find what you call to grow with that particular algae. And to mention this point here. Okay, now the algae are either okay, to mention the algal species. Okay, the algal species found in lichen or in lichens, okay, are okay, are also found okay, living free in nature, are also found living free in nature. Okay, but of course this is not true of the fungi. Okay, but this is not true, okay, of the fungi. That means the fungus which is in the lichen, it have to grow with the algae itself. Okay. Now, once you mention this one here, this is as a general characteristic we talk about, okay, about the lichens. The other point maybe I can just mention it to you, I guess. Okay. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the lichen classification. Subtitle here. This is just a kind of what you call, because there are two groups, but basically this is basically like for convenience, we group the fungi, the lichen into three groups. So, for convenience, going to mention here, for convenience, lichens may be divided okay, into three groups Okay. Simply, of course, based on the vegetative structure as a whole. And to mention to you here, okay, and divided into 3 groups based on their vegetative body, based, okay, on their vegetative body. Okay. Note point here, probably the most did you finish from this one? The first one? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so that, no, the reason I mentioned so that I can push this a little bit up here. Okay. Probably, of course, going to mention to you here that the most conspicuous, there are 3 types of, basically we're going to mention. We have fructose, glycose, and crystose. These 3 types of flag I'm going to mention down here, and also going to show you the picture of that. I'm going to mention now. Probably mention the most, okay, conspicuous, okay, lichens are those, okay, are those of the member of the fructose. Mention here, this is known fructose. Or fructose. Let's see the picture of that for you. I have it here. This one called fructose, okay? Fructose type. One type is called fructose type. We'll describe it. This is the fructose type. Okay, this one here. This is the fructose type, which, as you can see, it looks more or less like a leafy type. Okay. Okay. Right. Now, to mention, they are formed okay, by small tubules, or branches. Okay. And as you can see here now, that the fructose type okay, the fructose type, okay, or lichens, may take extensive, may make okay, extensive, okay, and attractive growth. Growth, for example, on oaks, okay, or the dead branches of certain pine, or the dead branches, okay, of certain pines. So this is one type here. The second type we're going to talk about basically is the Folios type. The other one known as Folios type. And as this one you can see, basically it looks like a leafy type, this one here. Okay, so this is, as you can see, this is okay. So the Folios type, as a matter of fact, I mentioned to you, okay. Now these lichens, okay, they basically have a leaf-like a plant body, okay, and these are common okay in moisture climate. In moisture climate, okay, and especially if the moisture, they can make quite extensive growth, as a matter of fact, okay. Okay, where they make okay an extensive growth or extensive growth. Also, like on tree trunks, okay, or on fallen logs, or on fallen logs. Okay. The last one, which is I think most of you are familiar with, sometimes when you see them on rocks, okay? And this one here, which is known as this type here, which is basically known as the Christos type. And usually this type, of course, usually will form the first one which grow in the rocks and so on. Then the last one known as Christos lichen. The third one here is known as Christos lichen. Okay. As I mentioned to you, these are the most common. Okay, they are the most common. Okay. As they grow, okay, extensively. On rocks, okay, poles and other, simply to mention, and other hard surfaces. Okay. Sorry. So these are basically the three types of the lichens, okay, which, as you mentioned, we have three types based on their vegetative growth, the fruticose, or we call the folios, or the Christos type. Now, basically, I'm going to give you basically an idea about that. If you make cross-section in the lichen, what are the layers? Okay, so subtitle here going to be basically a section through a lichen. Okay. Just give me a second. I just try to find the most one here is. Basically, if you look, this is. Do you see this one here? Give me a second here. Just a moment. Can you read it like this? Give me a second here. Can you read? Can you read
Yes.
this? Yeah. So basically, sometimes you find this. You have basically the upper cortex, and sometimes you have the lower cortex like this, and usually that in the between here. Basically, this is sometimes known as the medulla. Basically, it represents basically a little bit more loose hyphy. Okay, and this part here, where you find where is the algal zone, in which basically the hyphy with the algae. You got my point of view here? And of course, sometimes the lichen also, sometimes there are a few cells coming down from the lower cortex known as resinae. Did you see this one? Can you read it? Okay, so basically these are the layer I'm going to describe in one way or another. Okay, but that's how the structure look like when you make cross section. Of course, to make cross section sometimes is very, very difficult. You have, because the lichen is very tough. Sometimes you have to take it and put it with water, or sometimes deal it with sodium hydroxide, and then gradually one can cut and see. But basically, roughly, it looks like this one here. This is also black and white in color, but also the same thing, but this is colored here. This is also like this one here. This is another one, but it's too tall here. Also starting from the upper cortex, and consider all this is the medulla layer. And of course, you end up also with the cortical layer. But of course, the lichen also, they show some differences, but in general, these are the three layer found when you make like we call a cross section, or what we call a section through the lichen. So basically, this is the one I'm going to describe for you here. Okay. Now, just to mention a few lines, for example, a transverse section of the lichen, or a typical, or a transverse, okay, section of the typical, because not all of them of the typical, okay, a stratified lichen. That means show that, okay, lichen, thallus, okay, can be, okay, the following layers can be distinguished. Okay, so good. Now the first one, as already I showed you, which is known as the upper cortex. Known as the upper cortex. Okay, which is simply going to mention, it may assume like epidermis, like to mention to you here, it may assume, okay, epidermis-like, okay, epidermis-like configuration. Okay, and may have mention a colloidal water retaining surface layer, and may have, we call it a colloidal, that means able to hold water, colloidal, okay, water retaining, okay, surface layer. All right. Now, to mention also in this regard, as I showed you here, okay, some flares look like this, but they are not parenchyma. They look like parenchyma, but they are not parenchyma. Just to mention this point here, okay. Now, the fungal hyphae of many lichens, the fungal hyphae of many lichens, okay, are densely interwoven. Are densely interwoven, okay, mingled with each other, okay, so that okay, so that in the section, they seem to form like parenchyma. They seem okay, to form a parenchyma-like tissue, to form, okay, a parenchyma-like, I think better to say like layer. So basically, this is the first one is known that the upper cortex. Give me a second here. Put it down here for you, and then I'll continue after that. Then, of course, we reach to the what you call to the center layer, which we call the medulla. Okay. Then we have the second one. If you can talk, this is the first one here. Okay. I'm going to put this as the second one, known as the medulla. Okay. Now it seems already I have about, time goes very quickly. That's why, the medulla, or in other words, or the central portion of the thallus of lichen, or the central, okay, portion of lichen thallus, which is already I showed. This one basically that composed, as you can see here, okay, we call like loose hyphae. That's what it looks like, okay, like loose hyphae. That's basically what I'm trying to point out. Thallus, all right, okay. Now the medulla is composed, of loose network of hyphae, composed of a loose network of hyphae, as already I showed it to you here, okay, in which the algae is usually present. The algae is usually present. Okay, is usually present. Okay. And as you can see, the algae basically present in a distinct zone. That means basically that this zone is distinct from this one. So simply that's what we are talking about, in which basically the algae is usually present, okay, in a distinct zone, okay. Now, usual information, of course, as already, now the medulla's hyphy, as already I showed it to you here, okay, or the medullary, known as the medullary hyphy, okay. Are in longitudinal orientation, are in longitudinal, and basically that basically sometimes it may have also in transferring of the material or the nutrient in the water, okay, dimension, okay. Hyphy are in longitudinal orientation, okay, and because of that, and in some species, okay, may function in conduction, may function in conduction, okay. And simply, of course, the last thing to mention here, and below the medulla, also there is a dense lower cortex. But this does not exist in everyone. Just to mention one note. Now, below the medulla, okay, a dense lower cortex, a dense lower cortex may be present. I said may be present, that means not necessarily all of them, because I think before the time will catch me up here, because this is really sometimes it's just, okay. Yeah, may be present. All right.
Could you move the page a little bit to the left, please?
Just give me a second, maybe my left is, let me look to the picture. Is it okay like this or like this? All right, yeah, because your left may be different from mine here, but I have to look at the screen. Now I'm going to mention one line before I forget, before the time would catch me and cut me off. Now, as I mentioned in the end, in some species, the one I told you about, the resident hyphy, in some species, okay, a special attachment hyphy, we call them attachment hyphy, okay, which is known as the resiny. Can you read it? The resines. Okay. And I think when I mention this, I'm going to stop my lecture because I don't like it to cut me off. And also you can follow it here. And I hope, did you follow the lecture okay today? Okay, hopefully yes. Okay. And as I mentioned to you that with regard to your midterm, okay, because hopefully you'll have it maybe if it's done, maybe late of this week, coming week, or early next week, okay? So don't worry. And if anybody for you with the plant diversity, we're going to have it sometime next week, okay? So basically, this is for lecture today. And after I finish this one, then I'm going to talk about the reproduction and the lichen. And basically, the reproduction is going to be, it depends on the type of the fungi, mostly. Okay, we'll talk about that next lecture. I don't know if it's, I hope if it's okay with you now, okay?